Good afternoon. Welcome to this live broadcast of the Senate afternoon sitting on this day of the 18th of October, the year 2022. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Members of the Senate this afternoon will be considering a motion that is moved by the Senate Majority Leader, the motion on the appointment of a joint select committee on election of members to the East African Legislative Assembly, commonly known as EALA. This is a motion that will seek members to approve a list of members from the Senate to join a list of members from the National Assembly to form the committee, and this motion will be moved by the Senate Majority Leader on issues that expound or explain the importance of this particular legislative assembly, that it is established under Article 9 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community as one of the key organs and institutions of the community responsible for the community's legislative matters, Article 50 of the treaty provides for the election of members of EALA by respective partner states legislatures in accordance with their parliamentary procedures for a term of 5 years. That aware that the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Act 2011 contemplates conclusion of the election of members of a new assembly to be within 90 days before the expiry of the term of the subsisting assembly, and that the term of the current East African Legislative Assembly will come to an end on 17th of December 2022. And of course, the cognizant of the need to urgently conclude the election process for the East African Legislative Assembly to commence transacting business of the East African community, that the Senate resolves to establish a joint select committee consisting of 7 members from each House of Parliament, that is the Senate and the National Assembly, members or other committee that will undertake the functions contemplated under the East African Legislative Assembly elections, that is election of members of the Assembly Rules 2017 or 2017, and that the members, a list of members from the Senate will be joining the Joint Select Committee, of course made of members from the Senate and the National Assembly. The list of members from the Senate include Senator Daniel Kitonga Manzo, who will be a co-chairperson in this Joint Select Committee. There is Senator Rafael Chimera Mwinzangu. There is also Senator Joyce Chepkoech Korir. There is Senator Miraj Abdullahi Abdul Rahman. There is Senator Chute Mohammed Said. There is Senator Joseph Githuku Kamau. And the 7th member is Senator Beatrice Akinyi Oyomo. This is a joint select committee for the elections of EALA members. Well, Honorable Veronica Maina is in the chambers. She will be presiding over this afternoon session. I will now hand you over for this live broadcast brought to you by PBU and KBC. Good afternoon.
Tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Twakuomba utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi hii yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Members, we are certain that we have quorum pursuant to Standing Order 40, and we will begin.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Senator Kajwang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to present this petition regarding public transport in Lake Victoria between Mfangano Island in Suba Central Sub-County and Mbita. We, the undersigned, citizens of the Republic of Kenya, on behalf of concerned stakeholders, shareholders, and residents of Mfangano Island on Lake Victoria in Homa Bay County, draw the attention of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya to the following, pursuant to Article 35 and 119 of the Constitution of Kenya and 225 of the Senate Standing Orders. 1, that maritime transport is an essential component of sustainable development in Kenya today. This has been and will continue to be a major backbone of the blue economy and a support system for fishermen and other business institutions within the lake region, and more importantly, the only transport medium for thousands of Kenyan citizens who live on Mfangano Island. Noting that there are a number of islands on Lake Victoria, namely Mfangano, Takawiri, Remba, Atego, Risi, and Ringiti, inhabited by over 30,000 people who purely depend on water transport inter-islands and the only way to connect to the mainland, and whom fishing is a source of income and support for livelihood. That the said islands on Lake Victoria have since time immemorial suffered from the lack of a public ferry to ensure safe and secure access of the islands and the mainland by the residents, which has led to an increased cost of transportation of goods and services to and from the island, thus affecting the cost of living in the island and the cost of doing business between the islands and the mainland, and more importantly, loss of lives in the use of unsafe water transport methods. That due to lack of a reliable public ferry, even the operations of the only private ferry that operated within the islands was suspended on 21st December 2021, almost 1 year ago, following non-compliance with Kenya maritime safety regulations. This has adversely and negatively affected movement between the islands and the mainland, leaving the residents and school-going children to rely on other forms of transport, including wooden boats, which are not only insufficient to ferry high volume and heavy cargo from one island to another and to and from the mainland, but are also highly risky and dangerous to life and property. That the government initiated a number of public projects on the said islands, like construction of classrooms to promote CBC and other public installations, including Kenya Power off-grid generators, which are likely not to receive enough fuel, public schools that have experienced delayed acquisition of essential learning and non-learning facilities and materials. That a continuous lack of a reliable public ferry is adversely affecting development and growth of the said islands, considering that the islands have a good potential to contribute to the GDP of the country through blue economy, lake transport, tourism, cage fishing, livestock farming, and other forms of business. That we, the petitioners, wish to confirm that as per Standing Order 235 of the Senate, this matter is not pending in any court of law or any other constitutional or immediate solutions. Therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the Senate, through the Committee on Transport and Infrastructure, consider the following. Number 1, with a view to return normalcy in people and cargo transportation between the said islands and the mainland, the government through the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure should support the current private investors through public-private partnership to ensure compliance with the safety maritime regulations. Number two, that in the meantime, the government through the Kenya Ferry Services, now under the Kenya Ports Authority, should allocate and install a fully equipped public ferry to ply the Mfangano Island, Rusinga Island, Tumbita route free of charge and as a constitutional right for the people of Mfangano Island, ferry being a road extension. Number three, the government through the National Treasury and the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure through the Kenya Ferry Services, now under the Kenya Ports Authority, to immediately procure a public ferry with the 300 million Kenya shillings allocated for the same in the current financial year 2022-2023 under Vote 0204000 and purchase or construct a new free public ferry with a view to ensuring safe and secure lake transport within and without the island. Number four, the government through the National Treasury and the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure through the Kenya Ports Authority to rehabilitate the Mfangano Island jetty and port at Sena, and Madam Speaker, Sena is the main town in Mfangano Island, with the financial resources already allocated for the same in the current financial year 2022-2023 to ensure safe and secure landing zones for the ferries plying the Mfangano Island, Rusinga Island, Tumbita route. And finally, the Committee on Transport and Infrastructure of the Senate, ministry officials, and any other relevant organization should visit the respective islands to ascertain the suffering and the challenges experienced by the people. And your petitioners will ever pray, dated the 6th day of October 2022. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the petition.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 237, I shall now allow comments, observations, or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. I will begin by calling out Osotsi.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the petition and only add that I think that petition is very timely. I know the area that Senator Kajwang was referring to, and I understand that people in that area have a lot of challenges with the transport, and particularly the fishermen of that area. So I call upon the relevant committee to move with speed and process this petition so that the report can be tabled in this House and the relevant ministry can deal with the issues that the Senator has highlighted. I support.
Thank you, Senator. We can have Senator Cheriot. Aaron.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a very interesting petition. I love that the Senator has decided to use the floor of this House to send out a call actually to the government on an issue that is extremely important to the people of Homa Bay County. It sounds to me well reasoned, a fair plea by Kenyans who deserve actually to be served by their government like any other Kenyans. Madam Speaker, the petitioners have even gone deeper into the details and ensured actually that they're aware that there is a budgetary allocation for this purpose. They even know the vote upon which this money has been allocated, I suspect they may even have a supply ready. You know, Senator Kajwang is my friend, and I know he's a very pragmatic citizen, and he may have planned his citizens well. But this is a very important petition, which I want to believe will be addressed should be addressed actually quite as fast as possible. You know, Madam Speaker, finally, I want to encourage my good friend Senator Kajwang. You know, one of the favorite counties of the new president is Homa Bay County. In fact, that's where he took his first prayer as president after being sworn in. Unfortunately, their good senator did not find it fit to attend the function. He should have mentioned to him if he was there, and showed him the direction of Mfangano Island, so that he ensured that the good citizens of Homa Bay enjoy the services that this ferry can provide. But I support this petition, Madam Speaker, and I hope that our Committee on Transport can help expedite it so that the good citizens of Homa Bay can live happily like the rest of the citizens in the country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Aaron. We can now have Senator. I'm sure he's very interested in this.
Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I also want to join my colleagues in supporting this petition. This petition, Madam Speaker, is very important for us coming around, from the Lake Victoria. My constituency, my county is just a few kilometers from Kajwang's constituency. We are bordering in the lake. And Madam Speaker, I only would have wished that Senator Kajwang included Luanda Kotieno and Mageta Islands, which are also bordering, because our people interact on a daily basis, and transport is not for a constituency or a county. Transport is normally for interconnectivity between counties, between for the whole country. So this, in the lake, Madam Speaker, there are quite a lot of people who die because of the safety of the boats they use in crossing. And it is a high time, Madam Speaker, that the government intervened and introduced safe transport in the lake so that our people can stop dying. All that the deaths are not reported, but they are on a daily basis, Madam Speaker. And Honorable Kajwang, I hope those the petitioners are from your area. That's why they only petitioned for those islands. But when the provisions are eventually enacted, the boats, there should be ferries also connecting Luanda Kotieno and those other islands, so that our people can have safe transport and sail through. Madam Speaker, this is a very important petition, and I stand to support it. And thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Dinga. We can have Senator Manzo Daniel.
Making a lake. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this petition, and first and foremost, that the issue of transport is about equity in the country, which is in the Constitution, such that what is happening in the port of Mombasa or any other place with water mass happens to other citizens of this country in any part of the country. And for equity, Madam Speaker, and there have been details as to the budget and the preparedness of the House having allocated monies to solve this problem. The government should move with speed. And even before our committee proceeds to Homa Bay, this matter should have even been sorted because of the urgency it has, and again also on issues of safety. Private entrepreneurs are the ones operating there, yet in Mombasa, the ferries there belong to the government and give service almost for free to the residents. Yet on the other side, there's no equity It is a private entrepreneur, and the people have to pay, Madam Speaker. So while I support this petition, it is very important that these ferry services be offered to the Kenyans in Homa Bay, so that they can also enjoy the privileges other Kenyans in all parts of the country are. And Madam Speaker, I heard Senator Faki say that I don't have a water mass in Makueni. I want to inform him that I'm preparing Thwake Dam, which is going to be the biggest dam in East and Central Africa, in Makueni. And therefore, I'll also soon need ferries to be connecting Makueni and Kitui counties. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Manzo. You see how that will work out when you connect the two counties. Let's have Senator Boni Halwale give comments.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's a pity that today in Kenya, it looks like the Kenya Ferry Services was created for Likoni. In fact, the people of Homa Bay and Kenyans should know there are only 5 ferries in Kenya. There is the Nyayo, there is the Harambe, there is the Kilindini, there is Kwale, all operating in Likoni. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker,
do you wish to
you
be informed by
you like to inform me? Most welcome, sir.
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, I want to inform my brother, Senator Khalwale, who resided in Mombasa for a long time, and we are grateful for his service to Port Reitz District Hospital then. But at the moment, there are about 7 ferries which operate across the Likoni Channel. And even in Tongwe, they have started the service. And unfortunately, after the incident which occurred in the year 2020, where the lady Miriam drowned with her daughter, the Kenya Ferry Services was transferred to Kenya Ports Authority. So there is no longer Kenya Ferry Service. It's now a department of Kenya Ports Authority. Thank you.
Thank you for the information. But when you are informing me, you should advance my frontier of knowledge. I've started by giving you the actual ferries. I've told you there is Harambe Ferry, there's another one called Nyayo, there's another one called Kilindini, the 4th one is called Likoni, and the 5th one is called Kwale. So you should have come and told me the 2 additional ones for me to know that you're adding knowledge to what I've said. But thank you for acknowledging. And for this reason, it's wrong that the government has not seen the importance of using ferries. Ferries are important for transportation. In fact, even as we cry for the people of Mfangani Islands, why are we not making economic capital out of water transport? The entire island of Mombasa, the entire Mfungano Island, and the other attendant islands in Lake Victoria can actually thrive on ferries as a mode of transport. In fact, it is faster to move from the islands to come to Siaya using ferries than to go round to Kisumu and round until you come by road. I therefore want to support this particular petition. And Mr. Speaker, I do it, Madam Speaker, I do it for good reason and for historical reasons. That the Abaluya people who are living in Suba Island, in Mfangani, the small house of the Luya house called the Abasuba, they have been marginalized in that area. When people address issues of the Abasuba, they don't realize they exist as an independent Luya house. I therefore want to congratulate Senator Kajwang, who is a fellow Luya from the Suba House, for coming up with this particular petition, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Kajwang? What is Senator Kajwang? What's your point of order?
It's a point of information to Senator Khalwale
Senator Haulole, do you wish to be informed?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, the good senator has talked about the roots of the Abasuba, and I think I'm a proud Abasuba, but I just wanted to tell Senator Kalwale that there is the river and the source. The source of the Abasuba could not have been the Abaluya. The source of the Abaluya could have been the Abasuba. So it needs to distinguish the river and the source. But to inform Senator Kalwale, the Abasuba who live on Fangano Island and Rusinga Island and the areas called Kaksingri were people, members of the royal household of Baganda, who were purged when Kabaka Sema Kokiro led an uprising that led to the death of Kabaka Junju. And they cut off his testicles. And as a result, they were flushed out of the Kabaka kingdom. And they came to the islands. So we, the Abasuba, are part of the royal household of the Baganda kingdom.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I challenge the good senator to a DNA test at the community level. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the senator and the petitioners because they have now acknowledged the new thing in town. Madam Speaker, the new thing in town is the bottom-up policy of developing Kenya. And this is classical bottom-up. We want you to embrace it at the economic level and also embrace it politically. Politically, because some of the things I see happening on the other side in the minority, it is because of lack of democracy in the political thinking of that area, where you have pinned your thinking around a prominent personality. If it was not the case, my good brother-in-law Omugeni here would not have been trending the way he was trending last week when
Senator Obekina.
Madam Speaker, your chair has reiterated on the importance of relevance while contributing to the debate of this House. Is the majority whip in order to deviate from discussing a very important matter that deals with the transportation of Kenyans who are being denied that service, to now discussing the contact of a party leader and suggesting that there is lack of democracy in this one, in this side of the aisle? Madam Speaker, I wish that you would find him completely out of order and you direct him to either withdraw and apologize or to substantiate the allegation that he's making. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Boni, do you have a response to that?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I think the good senator of Narok, if you had seen the nexus, I started by saying the importance in the economy of the people who are served by the ferry. Surely, those ferries are going to carry people to work. They are going to carry people to social functions. They are going to carry goods and services. And Madam Speaker, that improves the economy of the people. So how I have now veered away from the motion, I do not see. But if it pleases you that I have mentioned a party leader, please recall that on Hansard I have not mentioned the party of any particular political party or any coalition or any particular leader. I spoke as a standard of language. Bear with me, Senator Ledema. And for this reason, I support this very important motion and hope that it will be processed quickly through the committee. And as the chief whip in this House, I want to guarantee the people of Abasuba that I'll help in mobilizing members of parliament so that this motion can move quickly. And I want to, a petition, I want to ask members of the National Assembly to expedite in ensuring that Alice Wahome becomes the substantive cabinet secretary so that this can be referred to her ministry for action and eventual unlocking by His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto.
Thank you, Senator Boni. Your point of order was noted, Senator Olekina. Just allow the debate, the robustness of the debate, unless it has completely veered off, allow the wider perspective. I will ask Senator Sifuna to contribute.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this particular petition. I happen to have been privileged to visit the islands that my brother Senator Kajwang has spoken about on multiple occasions. I think the first time I was there, Madam Speaker, I was accompanied by Hilary Sigei, the senator from Bomet, and they can bear me witness that, Madam Speaker, this is one of the most beautiful places you can ever visit in this particular country of ours. And in fact, I have had a discussion with the Nairobi delegation, my sister Tabitha and my sister Karen, that when we retreat to discuss matters of Nairobi, we will go to these beautiful islands, Madam Speaker. It is the only place in this country where you can see the sun setting on water. And those of us who are hopeless romantics, I can see the language can't relate, but those of us who are hopeless romantics, Madam Speaker, we know the value of a sunset in the eyes of a lass when you are advancing your case. I have had the occasion, Madam Speaker, to also notice that in fact there are very few places I have seen on Lake Victoria that have white sandy beaches and palm trees. I think I have only seen one on the other side of Uganda in Entebbe and this Takawiri Island. Madam Speaker, it is very unfortunate and inequitable, as the Senator for Makueni has alluded to, that we have only ferry services on one side of a country. Many of us here will bear witness that in fact, if it is not the ferry connecting Mombasa to Kwale County, in fact, the tourism business and industry in Kwale would not be thriving the way that it is. It is a lifeline, Madam Speaker, and we are praying that the same consideration that is given to the Likoni Channel is given to these particular islands, Madam Speaker. I have friends there in Kakimba village, which my brother here knows very well. Madam Speaker, some of them may be beneficiaries of the car loan from this particular house or the other house down there. But Madam Speaker, do you know you cannot transport your car so that your villagers can see that now the God that William Ruto, the president, worships has also seen you, and he has given you a motor vehicle of a standing of a senator or a member of parliament, because there is simply no way for you to get that vehicle to your village. So we want to stand with the people of the islands. It's the most beautiful place, and Madam Speaker, the way my senior Boni Khalwale has alluded to, in fact, those of us who come from that side of the country feel that sometimes there are some government services that are not applicable or available for us. We have not felt the weight of the tourism ministry in Western Kenya. There are beautiful places there that are never marketed by this tourism board that I hear about. The people of Mount Elgon, they have caves and elephants there, but we don't see the same level of marketing that we see in other places where we have tourism activities. If the people of the islands were allowed, or this petition were allowed to succeed, I personally have seen the sort of difference that it would make, because if you are left at the hands of private operators of these ferries, Madam Speaker, then they are exposed to the ravages of the economy, and these people are free to set the prices of these goods, and yet they are an essential good that is actually a lifeline to the people of these islands. So I want to just assure my friend, the Senator for Homa Bay, that he has a friend in the Senate of Nairobi and the entire delegation of Nairobi, because I want Tabitha Mutinda, the Senator, not to leave this house without having seen the sunset on Lake Victoria from Governor's Camp on Mfangano Island. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, since this is a petition, the observations and comments should be brief. We have only 10 minutes, maybe even 8 now. So I'll request all the senators to take at least 2 minutes, and we'll have about maybe five senators so that we close this matter. Senator Ledama Olekina.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Madam Speaker, I'll go straight to the importance of ferry services. I rise to support this petition by the good senator from Homa Bay. Madam Speaker, when we're in this house, we try to make sure that we support each county to be able to generate on-source revenue so that they can be able to deliver services better to their people. Ordinarily, when petitions are brought to this house, the end results or the outcome of a petition is for the committee to carry out an investigation, give the report back to the petitioner so that they can follow through. I would like to beseech the Committee on Transport to move further, to call the Maritime Authority to be able to discuss with them. Also include the people of Homa Bay, the county government of Homa Bay, so that they can be able to get details on the importance of these islands. Because we are talking about the blue economy, but seldom do we now move forward. So I hope that when we are discussing this petition or investigating this petition, we can move forward and pronounce ourselves as the Senate. And I would like to beseech the chairperson of the Transport Committee to be able to go and introduce a motion so that we can see something, an outcome coming out that will be tangible. Because ordinarily we'll carry out petitions, we'll call people here, we'll grill them, but what is the outcome? How are people going to be able, what are take-homes? Take-home, Madam Speaker, should be that even if it is through a private partnership project, just like we have this expressway going on now, that can also be able to help the people of Homa Bay. So, Madam Speaker, I support and I call upon the Committee on Transport to seriously consider moving a motion for this Senate to pronounce itself on what needs to happen to build that blue economy. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Senator Madzayo Stewart. Senator for Kilifi.
Asante Bispika. Bispika, cha kwanza ni kwamba nataka kuwashukuru sana. Cha kwanza, cha pili. Kwanza nataka kushukuru wale ambao wameleta hii ardhi hali wakiongozwa na Daniel Rakoko juu ya watu wa Homa Bay vile wanavyoishi katika hali ya hivi visiwa. Bispika, tunaelewa kwamba visiwa watu wanavyoishi ni hali gumu ya usafiri. Ni kwamba watu hawezi kutoka nyumbani akiwa na mizigo, akiwa na nguo, akiwa anaenda skuli ama anaenda popote anapokuwa na haja napo kuingia kwa maji na kuweza kuogelea akiwa na nguo. Hawa ni watu ambao wanahitaji usafiri wa kikamilifu kama wa Kenya. Vile ambavyo Kenya Ferry Services zinaweza kutoa huduma kama hizo kwa watu wa Mombasa na pande zingine zote. Bispika, tunaona kwamba mara nyingi katika visiwa pia huwa kuna wakulima, kuna wafanya biashara mbalimbali, kuna wavuvi, lakini kwa muhimu sana ukiangalia kwa upande wa wavuvi na pengine wale ambao wanafanya mambo ya ukulima, utaona ya kwamba Bispika wanahitaji kwenda katika markiti ili kuuza vitu vyao, na hii hali pia inakuwa ngumu. Kwa hiyo tunaona kama ikiwa hali hii itaendelea kuumiza watu wanaoketi katika hizi islands ambazo ni kama Mfangamano, Rusinga na zingine. Kwa hiyo tunasema ya kwamba kama ikiwa ferry services inaweza kwa uharaka sana ikachukua hatua, na ambavyo pesa zimeweza kuletwa, zimeshaweza kuwekwa, Bispika, tunasema ya kwamba kiwa pesa ziko na hizo ferry zinaweza kupatikana, ingekuwa vyema kama serikali yetu ikachukua hatua muafaka ya uharaka zaidi ili kuweza kupeleka hizo ferry kuweza kusaidia watu wanaoishi katika hivi visiwa. Bispika, naomba dakika moja tu nimalizie.
Senator, you have 20
Kwa kumalizia, Bispika, ningependa tu ya kwamba kuhimiza uharaka, kwa sababu kuna magonjwa, kuna wafanya biashara, kuna watu tofauti wanaohitaji mahitaji haya hizi ferry. Kwa hiyo langu tu ni kusisitiza kwamba ingekuwa bora serikali ichukue hatua mpaka ya haraka iwezekanavyo. Asante Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Mazayo. We'll now have Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the issue of transportation between Mbita and Mfangano Island is not a new issue. Madam Speaker, the Governor, Her Excellency Wanga, raised this issue in the 10th Parliament, and the 12th Parliament in the National Assembly as a woman rep. Madam Speaker, when you see an issue has been raised and re-raised, it points out to the importance that I believe this issue should be given, the weight that this issue must be given. So I congratulate Mheshimiwa Kajwang for revisiting this issue. The point I wanted to make, Madam Speaker, is on the regulations of safety by Kenya Maritime Authority. Madam Speaker, as the Committee for Transport is looking at this issue to expedite it, to make sure that it happens as per this petition that is before this House, it is also an opportune time that the Delegated Legislation Committee, when we form it today, will take the opportunity also to look at the rules of safety so that we can make them viable and update them where we are, Madam Speaker, so that these ferries, as they continue to operate, they do not become a source of grief for all of us. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Mungatana. Now we will have Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will say just two things in support of that petition that has been presented by Senator Kajwang. One, I find it a very, very clever way of pushing forward the accountability agenda. Very, very clever, because what Senator Kajwang has done is that he has gone further with the petitioners to identify the funding that has been set aside for this project, including the voted, and with that, it will become very, very difficult for anyone to say that funds are not available for this project, because the question would be the funds that were allocated at 300 million Kenya shillings, where has that money been diverted to? So it's a very, very clever way of doing accountability before the spending starts. Second example, Madam Speaker, is the importance of marine transportation in the whole issue of blue economy. It is true that, Madam Speaker, marine transportation is an integral part of the blue economy. Without transportation of human beings, it shall be difficult to extend services and deliver goods from one point to the other, especially on the lake transportation corridors. Madam Speaker, I sit in the Roads Committee, and I want to commit to my brother that, and I know you also sit in that committee, that maybe there is a senator, I can't remember who said, it was Senator Sifuna, who said that Senator Mutinda must make sure that she visits the islands. Maybe this will be an opportunity for her to visit those islands, and I believe she will come back home safe. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Seems to be personalized invitation to our senator there to visit the islands. Let's have Senator Mohamed Faki.
Asante Bispika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia ardhi hali ambayo imeletwa bungeni na Senator wa Homa Bay, Senator Otieno Kajwang. Mheshimiwa Spika, swala ambalo Mheshimiwa Kajwang amelizungumzia katika ardhi hali hiyo ni muhimu sana, kwa sababu usafiri wa majini ni njia moja kubwa ambayo inatumika hususan katika mji wa Mombasa, makaunti ya Mombasa na vile vile pia mji wa Lamu, ambapo visiwa vingi viko kando kando, na usafiri ambao ni muhimu peke yake ni usafiri wa majini. Mheshimiwa Spika, swala la feri ni kwamba feri kutoka ianzishwe pale Mombasa haijakuwa kwa njia yoyote Mheshimiwa Spika. Japokuwa vyombo zile feri zinazofanya kazi pale zimeongezeka, lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, hakuja kuwa na upanuzi wowote wa biashara ile ama huduma ile ya feri katika kaunti ya Mombasa. Labda kina Kajwang wanaliangoa kwamba hawana feri, lakini hata sisi pia ile huduma ambayo inatolewa pale ni duni sana kulingana na vile serikali haijawekeza katika huduma ile. Mheshimiwa Spika, itakumbukwa kwamba Kenya Ferry iliundwa baada ya ajali ya feri ambayo ilitokea mwaka 1994 ambapo karibu watu 250 walipoteza maisha yao katika feri ya Mtongwe ambayo ilizama. Mheshimiwa Spika, baada ya muda huduma zikadorora kwa sababu hakuja kuwa na uwekezaji wa serikali, mpaka wananchi wapige kelele ndio kuongezwe feri. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, swala hili ni swala ambalo si la serikali kuu peke yake, lakini serikali za kaunti pia inatakana ziwekeze katika mfumo wa usafiri. Kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Spika, katiba inasema kwamba feri na bandari ni jukumu la serikali za kaunti. Kwa hivyo iwapo zile fedha ambazo zinawekwa katika feri zitaweza kuregeshwa katika zile kaunti ambazo zina usafiri ama zina mahali ambapo wanaweza kuegesha vyombo, itasaidia pakubwa Mheshimiwa Spika kurahisisha usafiri. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine ambalo tumeona ni kwa Kenya Maritime Authority ambao ndio inatakana iangalie masuala haya.
Senator Faki, please wind up your comment, 10 seconds.
Mheshimiwa Spika, asante. Kenya Maritime Authority, Mheshimiwa Spika, haijaweza kufanya jambo lolote kuhusiana na masuala haya. Ni Mombasa peke yake ndipo wameweza kukaa, na mpaka sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, hakuna mahali pengine popote ambapo wameweza kwenda wakafanya huduma kama hizo. Tukiangalia Mheshimiwa Spika, mambo
Thank you, Senator Faki. We are now winding up this this petition. Comments on the petition. We'll only allow Senator Chimera and Senator Beatrice to give a very brief comment, each of them.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I rise to support the petition by Honorable Moses Kajwang from Homa Bay County. This is a very, very crucial petition, noticing the fact that some of us also come from areas where we use the ferry on a daily basis. And we also have areas in Kwale County, specifically Funzi Island, Mkwiro and Wasini, where it is even risky to cross without this ferry. I believe this service will not only empower the people of Homa Bay, especially the hustlers there when they cross, but I wish to also urge the Committee on Transport to cast their net wider when they're investigating this whole situation, and include such areas that I've mentioned, Funzi, Wasini and Mkwiro, that our people can be able to get access to transport services so that they can do their business in time, effectively and efficiently. I therefore rise to support this petition. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the petition by my senator. Madam Speaker, if you're at the shores of Lake Victoria, it only brings lots of misery to our people and everybody else that watches our people as they prepare to take their travel to Mfangano. Each morning, each day, as they travel across the lake without the proper ferry services, as they leave, people are never sure of whether they'll reach their destination. Without the proper ferry services, Madam Speaker, our people travel in very undignified ways. If you look at the boats that they use, there is everything in that boat as people begin the journey. Madam Speaker, it not only touches on the safety of the people that use the lake, but it also touches on their dignity, because in those boats, there are cows, there are building materials, there's everything as they travel. So you can only imagine, Madam Speaker, when something goes wrong, what happens. I stand on my foot to support this petition. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, safety and mobility on water are very crucial, and pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, this petition should be committed to the relevant standing committee for its consideration. In this case, I direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing. And in terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading this prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. Thank you.
Order number 5, papers.
Sometimes we just touch.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate. Today, 18th October 2022, being reports of the Auditor General for the year ended 30th of June 221 on the financial statements of the following. 1. Narok County Executive, Narok County Assembly, Narok County Assembly Loan and Mortgage Fund, Narok County Bursary Fund, Narok Water and Sewerage Services Company Limited, Baringo County Executive Mortgage Scheme Fund, Baringo County Assembly for Members Car Loan and Mortgage Fund, Baringo County Assembly Staff Car Loan and Mortgage Fund, Baringo County Assembly Catering and Health Services Scheme Fund, Baringo County Older Persons and Persons Living with Disability Fund, Baringo County Lake Bogoria Community Grant, Baringo County Community Wildlife Conservation Fund, Baringo County Bursary and Scholarship Fund, Baringo County Emergency Fund, Kirandich Water Company, 16, Kirinyaga County Assembly Mortgage for Members Scheme Fund, and Kirinyaga County Car Loan for Members Fund, Kirinyaga County Facility Improvement Fund, Kirinyaga County Alcoholics Drink and Substance Abuse Control Fund, Kirinyaga County Health Sector Service Fund, Kirinyaga County Education Bursary Fund, Kirinyaga Water Sanitation Company Limited, Rukanga Water and Sanitation Company Limited, Kisii County Veterinary Services Development Fund, Members Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme, Nyandarua County Assembly Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme for members, Nyandarua County Assembly Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme for the staff, Nyandarua County Assembly, Nyandarua County Civil Servants Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund, Nyandarua Water and Sanitation Company Limited, Nyandarua County Bursary Fund, Nyandarua County Emergency Fund, Olkalao Water and Sanitation Company Limited,
Senator
Kajiado County Executive.
Your standing order, your point of order.
Madam Speaker, did you just see what Senator Gloria did? She just crossed from there, aside, passed through the place that the minority whip is sitting, and just walked straight to go and talk to Senator Aji.
Senator Gloria,
Madam Speaker.
Bow. National Police Service. In the message, His Excellency the President conveys that in exercise of powers conferred by Article 245(2)(a) of the Constitution of Kenya, I, William Samoei Ruto, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, nominate Engineer Japhet Kome Nchembere for appointment as the Inspector General of Police of the National Service. Honorable Senators, Article 245(2)(a) provides that the Inspector General is appointed by the President with the approval of Parliament. Further, pursuant to Section 12(2) and 7 of the National Police Service Act, number 11 of 2011 states as follows: the President shall, within 14 days after a vacancy occurs in the office of the Inspector General, nominate a person for appointment as an Inspector General and submit the name of the nominee to Parliament. Section 12(7), Parliament shall, within 14 days, when it first meets after receiving the names of the nominees, A, consider the suitability of the nominee, B, either approve or reject the nominee for appointment, and C, the Speaker of the National Assembly of the decision of the Parliament. Honorable Senators, as was agreed and executed during the previous approvals for the position of the Inspector General of Police, and in order for Parliament to effectively conduct the vetting process, the following procedure shall apply. 1, that the vetting of the nominee for appointment as Inspector General of Police shall be conducted jointly by the committees of the two houses mandated to deal with matters of national security. The vetting process will therefore be conducted by the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations of the Senate, and the Departmental Committees on Administration and Internal Affairs of the National Assembly. 2, that the chairpersons of the two committees will co-chair the joint sittings and the secretariat will comprise officers of the two houses. 3, that the quorum of the joint sittings will be the respective quorums of each of the subcommittees as stipulated by the respective standing orders. 4, that as contemplated under Rule 9(6) of the joint rules, unless a decision is reached by consensus, any vote to be taken in the joint sitting of the committees shall be by separate houses. This will ensure that the numerical difference of the individual members representing the houses in the joint sittings has no effect on the decisions of the joint sittings of the committee. And 5, that the committees shall, having conducted the vetting hearings, submit a joint report to the respective houses in the manner contemplated by the paragraph 7 of the joint Rule 9. Honorable Senators, Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011 states, unless otherwise provided in any law, a committee shall consider a nomination and table its report in the relevant house for debate and decision within 14 days from the date on which the notification of nomination was given in accordance with Section 5. 7. Section 9 of the Act further states, if after the expiry of the period for consideration specified in Section 8, Parliament has neither approved nor rejected a nomination of a candidate, the candidate shall be deemed to have been approved. In this regard, the period on the matter that is now before Parliament starts running upon the Speaker of the National Assembly committing the name of the nominee to the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs. Honorable Senators, Standing Order 77-1 of the Senate Standing Orders provides that further section provides that as contemplated under provides that upon receipt of a notification of nomination for appointment to a public office required to be approved by the Senate under the Constitution of any other legislation, the nomination shall stand committed to the relevant standing committee for consideration. This message, therefore, together with the resume of the nominee, stands committed to the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations of the Senate for vetting jointly with the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs of the National Assembly in accordance with the provision of the National Police Service Act, Public Appointment, Parliamentary Approval Act, and the Standing Orders of the Houses of Parliament. I thank you. From Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi, the Speaker of the Senate, I have read on his behalf. Thank you. We can proceed to the next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Majority Leader. Appointment of Joint Select Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Appointment of a Joint Select Committee on election of members to the East African Legislative Assembly. That, Madam Speaker, acknowledging that the East African Legislative Assembly is established under Article 9 of the Treaty for the establishment of East African Community as one of the key organs and institutions of a community responsible for the community's legislative matters. Recognizing that Article 50 of the treaty provides for the election of members of EALA by respective partner states, legislatures in accordance with their parliamentary procedure for a term of 5 years. Further aware that East African Legislative Assembly Election Act 2011 contemplates the conclusion of election of members of a new assembly to be within 90 days before the expiry of the term of the subsisting assembly, noting that the term of the current East African Legislative Assembly will come to an end on the 17th of December 2022. Cognizant of the need to urgently conclude the election process for East African Legislative Assembly to commence transacting business of the East African Community. Now, therefore, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 9 of the House of Parliament Joint Sittings Rule, the Senate resolves that 1. To establish a joint select committee consisting of 7 members from each House of Parliament to undertake the functions contemplated under the East African Legislative Assembly elections of members of the Assembly Rules of 2017. 2. That the following members represent the Senate in the Joint Select Committee. 1. Senator Daniel Kitonga Manzo as a proposed co-chairperson, Senator Rafael Chimera, Senator Joyce Chepkoe Korir, Senator Miraj Abdullahi Abdul Rahman, Senator Chute Mohamed Said, Senator Joseph Githugu Kamau, Senator Beatrice Akinyi Oyomo, and 3, that the office of the clerks of the House of Parliament provides for secretariat services to the Joint Committee in accordance with the standing orders, and that the Joint Committee reports to the Houses of Parliament within the timeline stipulated in the East African Legislative Assembly election of the Members Assembly Rules of 2017. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order number 7, statements.
Let me first invite Senator Wambua, who had an urgent statement on security issue, to issue that before we proceed with the rest of the statements.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for indulging me and giving me an opportunity to seek this statement on matters security. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the heightened insecurity situation in Mudha Ward of Kitui County. Madam Speaker, in the statement, the committee should, 1, appraise the Senate on the measures the national government has put in place to respond to the current insecurity situation affecting the residents of Mudha Ward in Kitui South constituency of Kitui County, perpetuated by gun-wielding bandits who have invaded parts of the ward, leaving in their wake death and destruction. Number 2, undertake a visit to the county to ascertain the level of response by the security apparatus at both county and national government, which has been wanting, and investigate the underlying reasons for the attacks. Number 3, state the reasons for the delay in response to the matter, noting that on Friday, 14th October this year, the bandits armed with crude weapons invaded the said Mudha Ward of Kitui South constituency and hacked to death a man named Motoko. Number 4, provide targeted interventions to resolve the matter, noting that this was the second attack by bandits in the space of 1 month. As another similar attack happened on the 18th of September at Masiungwa area of Sikuru Ward in Mwingi North constituency of Kitui County, in which two men, namely Musimi Ndana and Mudhui Kamuti, were attacked with machetes by Kamo herders who invaded their farms and are currently hospitalized at Mwingi Level 4 Hospital. And 5, clarify whether the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government has established additional police posts in the affected areas or deployed rapid deployment units and National Police Reservice to complement security operators to ensure that Modha Ward, parts of Gomeni Ward, that is in areas including Gasiloni, Mandongoi, and Inyanzae, parts of Nguni Ward, especially Sosoma area, and parts of Sikuru Ward in the area around Masiungwa, and parts of Endau Malarani Ward are ensured of sustainable efforts to secure the residents and enforce lasting peace. Madam Speaker, if you just allow me 1 minute on this. As I speak, Madam Speaker, residents of Modha Ward are running away from their homes as I speak now, because they have been invaded and they are being attacked by bandits who are masquerading as camel farmers. Madam Speaker, camels in Kitui now have become an enemy of the people, and every time a resident of Kitui sees a camel, they see death. Because the minute you try to drive away a camel from your farm, you are attacked by the herders and probably killed. Madam Speaker, I wish the Security Committee would take this matter very, very seriously, and we ensure lasting solution to this menace. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, and that's why I'm going to conclude there. Yesterday, when the cabinet nominee for defense was being vetted, he went on record that he has 250 camels, all grazing in parts of Kitui. Madam Speaker, this is a matter that must come to an end. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Of information? Should I engage, Senator? Okay. I will allow 2 comments on that statement, and then we'll move to the rest of the statements. Only 2 comments. There are very many statements on the order paper today. Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the mic. Madam Speaker, as much as we appreciate the Honorable Senators from Kitui statement, one thing I want to tell the House is that this time there is a terrible drought, there's famine, and those camels belong to Kenyans. And we appreciate for those animals to at least be taken care of by our brothers and sisters in Kitui. Madam Speaker, one thing you should know is that these are resources for Kenyans. If you said get oil in Wajir, we will not discriminate whether one comes from Kitui, whether one comes from Wajir. Equally, those animals, I think, have some right to graze in those places with at least due consideration. We will tell I'm requesting the Kitui Senator, Mheshimiwa Mutua, to be lenient and consider the situation. Today, those animals are actually faced with death. The owners actually are faced with famine, and they need to keep the animals alive. And therefore, we will appreciate the generosity of Kitui people and Ukambani at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Senator Kenywa, comment?
Asante sana Bi Spika kunipa fursa hii. Mambo ya usalama Bwana Spika na ufugaji umekuwa ikiandamana, na ni vizuri ijulikane wazi, kazi kuu ya serikali ni kulinda maisha na mali ya wananchi. Bwana Bi Spika, ni jambo ambalo limekuwa likifanyika Laikipia. Wafugaji wanakuja wanachunga katika mashamba ya watu, anakuambia kwamba yeye anachunga nyasi na hachungi mchanga. Ati mchanga ndio wako, lakini mimea iliyoko ni ya wanyama. Bi Spika, ni vizuri ijulikane wazi ya kwamba mashamba yana wenyewe, na yule ambaye ni mfugaji, hakuna mtu ambaye anasema hapaswi kuwa na mifugo yake, lakini mifugo ambayo unaweka, unapaswa uweke mifugo ambayo idadi yake unaweza ukaweka kwa shamba lako, kwa sababu yule mkulima ambaye ameweka mimea yake ana haki vile vile ya kuweka mimea yake, kwa sababu anategemea mimea ile. Na wewe ambaye unategemea mifugo yako uiweke kwa shamba ambalo itatoshea mifugo ambayo umeiweka. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri tuheshimiane. Mkulima na mimea yake aheshimiwe, mfugaji na mifugo yake aheshimiwe. Kenya ni yetu yote na tuishi kwa kitu kimoja. Kwa hivyo kama ni mimea yako, kama ni kupanda, huendi ukapanda kwa shamba ya yule ambaye ameweka mifugo yake. Kwa hivyo Bi Spika, ni vizuri, nataka kuunga mkono taarifa iliyoletwa na Senator Wambua ya kwamba wale ngamia wachungwe kwa shamba lao, na wale wafugaji waweze kupewa haki yao kikatiba na kisheria kuwa wanaishi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Asante Bi Spika.
Senators, this being an important matter, I hereby commit this to the standing committee. I had made a ruling that only 2 people would contribute to that statement. We have very many statements today, senators, unless if we don't want to receive some of them. Okay, that is noted. That is noted. Yes, I'll give you a chance, but you wait until I finish what I am reading out. We are committing this matter to the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations to issue a statement on the insecurity situation in Mutha Ward, Kitui County. What is your point of order? Okay, let's hear you.
Speaker, katika mjadala ambayo inaletwa ndani ya bunge, Speaker, singependelea kuweza kueleza vile ambavyo unatakana ufanye. Ninajua kazi yako unaifanya kisawasawa, lakini haki na utendaji wa kazi ni lazima viende pamoja. Upande huu wana haki pia ya kuchangia kama mswada umeletwa. Nimeona, ninashangaa sasa kuona ya kwamba unaelekeza upande mmoja wanaongea, alafu upande huu mwingine haupewi nafasi ya kuongea. Sitaki kukosea ama kukukosoa katika uamuzi wako uliofanya, lakini nafikiria kwa wakati mwingine tukipata nafasi kama hiyo, ingekuwa bora upeane nafasi kwa upande huu, uwasikize pia, na hawa pia uweze kuwasikiza kisawasawa, sio kulalia upande mmoja na upande mwingine ukuacha hivi hivi. Asante Bi Speaker.
What's your point of order, Senator Cherabigi?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I noted, and I think Senate Minority Leader should also be fair since he's a lawyer. During the last contribution on the petition, you gave 2 people, if I remember, from the side of minority, and we never complained. So the issue of saying there is discrimination in terms of people who can speak on a motion or a statement or on a bill is a bit unfair. And for heaven's sake, Madam Speaker, this is your maiden presiding of the House. So give it. So at least be fair, and you are doing very well, extremely well. And for the purposes of record, the statement came from the minority side. They should be gracious enough when it comes to, and we supported them.
We are actually supporting them.
I will exercise my discretion. I want to assure both sides of the House that the Speaker is allowing everybody to contribute to the motion. That statement came from the minority side, but to assure that assurance, to give that assurance further, I will still give somebody to comment on that statement. We could have one person comment on that statement. We've committed. So we move on. Okay, thank you. I stand guided. You are assured of the Speaker's neutrality in allowing everyone to contribute. So we'll go back to the order paper. And I also want to comment on Senator Chiraligei's what you noted. I actually did not give 2. I gave them a little more than what was given to the majority side. So stand assured that you are in safe hands. Let's move to the next item. The next statement, pursuant to Standing Order 52-1, we will get the statement from Senator Abdul Haji concerning the plan by Safaricom PLC to block unregistered SIM cards by 15th October 2022.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on a matter of inter-county importance and general topic concern, namely concerns over the plan by Safaricom PLC to block SIM cards that will not have been re-registered by Sunday, 15th October 2022. Madam Speaker, there are millions of Kenyans in need of humanitarian aid, especially in the northern counties and other arid and semi-arid lands, areas of Kenya where the populace is faced by the debilitating effects of severe drought. It is appreciated that many non-governmental organizations have stepped in to offer the much-needed support during this time. These humanitarian organizations reached at least 598,100 people in the Asal region with life-saving and life-sustaining assistance between October 2021 and May 2022, including 534,000 in 2022 alone. Madam Speaker, this support aimed at mitigating the effects of drought includes water tracking, provision of human and animal feeds to protect livelihoods, health services, and most importantly, cash transfers to thousands of beneficiaries across the more than 20 drought-stricken counties. Needless to say, these cash transfers run into billions of shillings. Madam Speaker, I'm not in contention of the fact that SIM cards must be registered to prevent crime, fraud, and other malpractices, and I'm also aware that the need to re-register the SIM cards is a compliance requirement in accordance with the Kenya Information and Communication Act. However, Safaricom needs to take cognizance of the special circumstances of most of the people in the ASL areas. All of these cash transfer beneficiaries, mostly pastoralists, receive this support through M-Pesa, and they live far from places where they can promptly update their registration details. Further, not only is the network hard to access in these areas, it is also quite erratic. Illiteracy is another confounding problem. Madam Speaker, it is my opinion that disconnecting these beneficiaries in the midst of humanitarian crisis that has been brought about by the drought situation amounts to a violation of their rights. I would therefore like to appeal to this Senate to prevail upon Safaricom and other telecommunication service providers to defer their deadline and to also consider having mobile registration centers to these pastoralist and ASAL areas in order to ensure compliance, so that humanitarian aid is not disrupted by the action of disconnecting these customers. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes. What is your point of order? Senator Aaron?
Madam Speaker, just to confirm, I'm not certain about this, but I thought I saw a communication from the Communications Authority that they have extended the deadline for this registration by a further 60 days. Perhaps Senator Abdul could actually guide us, or with your guidance, if this has been done, then we may not need to dwell too much on this. I don't know, but I need your guidance, Madam Speaker.
Before we respond to that, I will request clerk to come. I will give 2 people to comment, 2 senators. Okay, then let me give 4 people. It's an issue of serious interest. 2 on this side and 2 senators on the minority side, and the majority side 2 senators. So, Senator Osotsi.
Madam Speaker, this issue is of huge concern. CMA have been justified in trying to get the SIM details of all the subscribers. But the process undertaken by Safaricom in trying to get this data, Madam Speaker, is unlawful. I want to say this, Madam Speaker, because in the National Assembly, we passed a law called the Data Protection Act. And we established an office called the Data Commissioner's Office, who later came up with the regulations. Madam Speaker, I want to say that Safaricom has violated the internationally recognized data protection principles, which require that when you pick data from a data subject, you must get a proper consent before you pick that data. Madam Speaker, whereas I appreciate that Safaricom came up with an online form and even sent messages to subscribers with a link, that link was not functional. And hence, most subscribers went to their outlets, they gave their information, their ID details, without filling any form at all. And this is against the law, this is against the regulation, and this is against the international best practice on data protection. So, Mr. Speaker, they say data is the modern oil. Data is expensive. We have allowed our citizens to give their private national registration data to a private company, and we don't know what this data is going to do. There was no consent at all, because the consent is supposed to state the usage of that data clearly. That was not done. So, Madam Speaker, on that basis, I want to say that in the process of collecting this data, Safaricom has violated the data protection law, and I'm sure IT experts who are in this room will agree with me that this process was unlawful, regardless of the fact that it is necessary to get this data for other purposes like security. But they needed to state that purpose, because today, if you allow a private company to get data, that is one way of promoting state capture. You do not know what that data will be used for. So on that basis, I think the particular committee that is going to deal with this, and I know is the ICT committee, they need to look at the issues of violation of the law. particularly the data protection law, and the data commissioner must be invited. The CA must be invited to explain to the committee why they oversaw violation of the data protection principles and the law and the regulation. That is the most important thing, regardless of the fact that Safaricom has extended the period. Yesterday they disconnected my line. I went to Safaricom and I asked them, is there any form I need to fill? They told me there is no form. They just picked my ID, scanned it, and reverted back my line. That is a thing that should not happen in this country, especially when you are dealing with a private company and you are giving your national registration data to a private company. So, Mr. Speaker, I think in committing this matter to the committee, a committee must also be directed to look into the illegalities committed by the subscribers, Safaricom, of course, included.
Thank you,
Madam Speaker.
Senators, please take 2 minutes only to contribute. Thank you, Senator Osotsi. Senator Gloria, you're next.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, let me inform the House and the general public that there is no such thing as re-registration of SIM cards. It does not exist in any Communication Act, and no one should come out here and tell us about re-registration. If you look at the Communication Act of 2015 and SIM registration, they are only talking about registration of any SIM card holder, meaning at the point at which you are actually purchasing the SIM card, you registered. You will check that the guidelines that have been put there in our Communication Act is that you will provide information, full names, your ID, your alien card or your service card or your passport, date of birth, things like gender. And this information is actually classified as sensitive information. Sensitive information under the Communication Act actually is guided on how data processors or data handlers should deal with it. Sensitive information is any information that puts out your sexual orientation, your gender, your genetic background, and things like that. So whatever this SIM registration process that they're doing, and they're calling it re-registration, which in itself is an illegal act. It is only registration, meaning if you actually at any one point, which myself I did, gave ID, my names and the details to procure a SIM card, nobody should come back to you and tell you we are re-registering, because nothing like that exists. When you check the process of what they are calling re-registration, they are asking for additional information. And they have not sensitized the public, and when I say they, the service providers, Safaricom and Airtel, have not sensitized the public on why they need this additional information. For instance, you are asked for your photographs. They are asking that you have to take a photo. At one point when we were going to Safaricom, you have to take your photo and give it in.
What's your point of order, Senator Chirodege?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order, standing order number 52, while appreciating the fact that Senator Haji has brought a very serious issue, understanding order 52. Madam Speaker, and some of us on Sunday, when I was supposed to pray, and I think my prayers were affected, the Safaricom decided to switch off my line. Looking at standing order 52.1, 52.3 on general statements, 3, the Speaker may, where appropriate, refer a statement made under paragraph 1 to the relevant committee for consideration. And therefore, Madam Speaker, looking that this matter is serious, and I know almost each and every member has an issue with it, I would request that now that the ICT committee has been formally formed, and looking at what Senate Majority Leader has just said, that is a communication from Commission Authority of Kenya on the extension period, so that some of these issues that senators are raising, Senator Gloria, Senator Utsotsi, can be looked at. Madam Speaker, I request your indulgence that this matter be referred, because it was a general statement, and therefore there is no obligation. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Chiradigai, while that is a very good contribution, I doubt if it's a point of order. I don't think it's a point of order. So I will allow Senator Gloria to wind up in 10 seconds, then we go to the third person.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll wind up by saying that, first of all, the process of re-registration does not exist. It is not in the legal framework. It is nowhere in the Communication Act 2015 and any other Communication Act. And actually, Madam Speaker, just to sensitize the House on what is happening is that there is a lot of data mining. I was talking about photographs. Nowadays, when you're tracking a person, you can actually get that Madam Speaker Veronica Maina is seated there, and by additional information such as photographs, I can see all the people who are holding phones and how they look like, and it actually gives away information that should be protected, and it infringes on the privacy. On the issue of the data protection, which I know we will discuss on a later time, but Safaricom and Airtel, together with Communication Authority, because it is the authority that's supposed to guide them, they are actually infringing on the rights of people, and they should be stopped. And this re-registration, which is an illegal act, should actually be halted, and the service providers should be brought to book, because they have already breached on our privacy. And they should come and...
Thank you, Senator Gloria. Thank you. Senator Olekina.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. One of the things that I've noted is that I think we are being partial in prosecuting this matter. This is a matter that cuts across all the telecommunication providers. Safaricom, Airtel, I think the other one is Telcom, and any other one which are hidden. So I think we should be impartial. And it is important because when we keep on prosecuting one company, we are actually being very unfair to them. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, the second very important thing that I want to note here is that we have the Communication Authority, and I'm aware that they have extended the period of registration of SIM cards. What the committee ought to further investigate is why is it that we now have a problem of pre-registration. Madam Speaker, when we were considering, I think, the Data Protection Act, it is one... Okay, can I just... Madam Speaker, if the distinguished senator is communicating to you, I'll be more than happy to be informed. But it all... if you... Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, so that I can be able not to interfere...
Did you want to inform?
But
Okay.
can I finish
Do you want
prosecuting?
to be informed?
Yes, why not? But I've never had this.
Very quickly.
I'd like to inform Senator Ledama that we are referencing Safaricom and Airtel, because when you look at the list of registered processors of data and controllers of data, it is limited to those that are in the list. And those who are switching off the lines, it is limited to Safaricom and Airtel. And that is the reason why I reference those two organizations. It has nothing to do with victimization. Just look at the list.
Madam Speaker, I'm very much aware of that. That was not really information, but it's okay, because the distinguished senator is among the senators who contributed on this matter. And having spoken after her, I was not referring directly to her sentiments. Madam Speaker, to conclude this matter, this is a matter which is provided for under Article 31 C and D of the Constitution of Kenya. One of the things that the committee ought to relook is whether what we are discussing now form part of what was considered by the judiciary as unconstitutional in the Data Protection Act. So, Madam Speaker, I support this statement from the distinguished Senator Yusuf Haji, but I would also want to seek that the committee that is investigating this matter to be impartial when they are calling the witnesses, so that we need to ask ourselves tough questions. Are we in this parliament also responsible for these problems? Because the Communication Authority is acting under instructions from this parliament. So, Madam Speaker, the law is quite clear. The law requires that information be protected. So if the telecommunication companies are violating the law, we should be made very clear. But this business of targeting one multinational corporation or one company, we should really stop away from that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Olekina. I will request Senator Chiralege now to give his quick contribution, and then we close this matter. He spoke on a point of order which I overruled. He spoke on a point of order which I overruled.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I think I'm on contribution.
Just allow him to speak. I have given him the chance.
On this matter. And I would have expected the minority leader to be apt with what is happening on the House. Madam Speaker, 2 quick points. One, like any other Kenyans, unfortunately on Sunday, before going to pray, via FM, Mr. Speaker, when most of us do morning glory prayers, because it's a prayerful nation, the Safaricom, Madam Speaker, decided, Madam Speaker, to switch off many SIM cards, including a number of hustlers, including myself, Madam Speaker. And therefore agree that we need data commissioner to come here, the Communication Authority of Kenya, because as my colleagues have said, the issue of data is very critical, Madam Speaker. And it is very unfortunate, Madam Speaker, and I agree that this matter is alive, even going to the future. So I hope, Madam Speaker, the Committee of ICT should come out strongly and ensure that this matter is put to rest. Lastly, Madam Speaker, is that in as much as, and I've had the nominee, I think the nominee of Interior, our former colleague Senator Professor Kitui Kindiki, has indicated that some of this information that are being collected is for the interest and protection of the country and national security. While we appreciate, Madam Speaker, it is important also that we do it within the law, because we know that is where everybody wants to sell data. You are under threat, as somebody has said, wherever you are, Madam Speaker, and therefore I call upon that the Committee of ICT must cease of this matter, report back to the House so that Kenyans can be comfortable, Madam Speaker. A number of Kenyans, including saloonists, I saw in the news, that day they did not get clients. A number of even other clients that operate in mundane hours, Madam Speaker, were not able to be accessible, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this matter should be handled carefully and with conclusion upon the direction as I had requested, understanding order 52.3, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is an important matter that is affecting all Kenyans and is affecting the communication that is being undertaken in the Republic of Kenya. And the mood of the House is that it should be committed to the Committee of ICT. So under Order 52.3 of the standing orders, we hereby commit this matter to the Committee of ICT to bring back a report to this House. Next statement, Senator Christo Asige.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Before I even start, I'd like to just say how proud and privileged I am to be standing in front of a Madam Speaker today. You sitting in that chair is not a small thing, and I feel very inspired to be in your presence today, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
I rise on Understanding Order 52.1 to make a statement about the just concluded World Sight Day, which was on the 13th of October 2022. Madam Speaker, everyone in the blind and visually impaired community knows that October is a very important month because it is Blindness Awareness Month. The world over, people this year have been going and celebrating and creating sensitization activities around Loving Your Eyes, which is this year's hashtag for Blindness Awareness Month. Madam Speaker, WHO estimates that there are 2.2 billion people around the world who suffer from some kind of visual impairment, and 1 billion of those live in LMICs, Kenya being one of them. Of those 2.2 billion as well, Madam Speaker, 1 billion are preventable issues, meaning that if they were addressed earlier enough, then they could have been prevented or reversed. eye care. That's 15.5% of our population. And unfortunately, this is compounded with the fact that there are lack of ophthalmologists around the country. 58% of them are in this county of Nairobi, which means that the other counties, 46, are missing quality eye care with specialized doctors across board for ophthalmology. Madam Speaker, I'd like to just give a few tips to my colleagues and Kenyans who are listening to this on the importance of not ignoring symptoms when it comes to eye care. For example, dry eyes, headaches which are persisting. Do not ignore trends within your family of eye care, needing glasses in your family. Do not ignore sensitization efforts. Like right now, there is free eye screenings around the country going on through the month of October. One, I'm happy to report, happened right here in Senate with some of my friends and partners from the Ophthalmology Society of Kenya, and as well from City Eye Clinic, as well as Kenya Society for the Blind, amongst other in the consortium. I'm happy to say that the Senate now has joined 20 other parliaments around the world in promoting and prioritizing eye screenings right there on their grounds, which I'm very, very proud of. I would have liked to have made this statement last week on the day itself, on Thursday the 13th, but it's never too late to take care of your eyes, Madam Speaker. I encourage everyone in here, please, fellow senators, in your committees, especially committee chairs and vice chairs, if you see some senators who are struggling with their eyesight, give them a bit of reasonable accommodation, and make sure that everyone is accommodated throughout their term so that everyone can serve in the best way possible. You don't want somebody to feel like they're being left out because documentation, trips, meetings are not made accessible for them if they are struggling with their eyesight. And continue, like me, to talk about this importance of loving your eyes. That's the hashtag this year, love your eyes. Please love your eyes, love your family's eyes, your children's eyes, enough to get them checked at least once a year. And not just at an optician, Madam Speaker, ophthalmologists, because not every single problem is solved by glasses, including my own. I have glaucoma, Madam Speaker, but glaucoma does not have me. And I'd like to end on that note and say, with your guidance, Madam Speaker, if this issue can be put forward to the relevant committee of health to look into the fourth phase of the strategic plan by the Ministry of Health and what they are planning to do for us in terms of quality eye care across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Asige. That is very well spoken and very well presented. We are proud of you as Senate. Remember, your name is VIP. Asante sana. I will allow a few comments, just maybe one from this side and one from this side. One. Senator Okech Eddie Ishero.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.